educational building, there's this system with pressing the garbage. Are you using the same system that they're using, or is it different? Are you going to be creating small bundles of garbage to truck it out so you don't have to?
Yes, there will be a compactor. Yeah, we designed it. The compactor, the trash chutes have a compactor at the bottom. The whole thing gets smushed as small as it can be, and then it stays the same. And the private car service comes and takes these much more compressed.
If I'm not mistaken, weren't they pulverizing? Wasn't there some other system with it?
That was for the restaurant. That was for the restaurants.
Yeah,
The restaurants.
Oh, the thing that evaporates, that presses it down, removes the liquid, and that's what you were talking about?
That's cool. But we don't have the need for that level of stuff because we're not running a restaurant, in the building.
So I can jump in because we're on the question of garbage. So Jane, maybe this is for you to answer. There won't be a central pickup point on the campus for garbage. Each building will compact or separate or whatever its own garbage, and then we'll have individual pickups for garbage.
Yeah, there'll be loading zones, within the building. Either I think it's on the north side.
Right. Okay.
That you were saying.
So it will be individual?
Not, well, I'm sorry.
You're going to be on the north of the east.
North side.
Yeah. Okay, Ellen, why don't you go through your questions?
So, good night, everybody.
Good night, thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
So, back to the same question that we asked before, and I know you're getting a pass on these questions because you're not in the ULO process, but we wanted to know what the number of trucks are that are going to be trucking in material. And I'm assuming you have that information at this point.
It's going to be a lot like what's happening right now with Riverwalk 7. And I would ask the question, we're building a port-in-place building, probably very similar footprint. Riverwalk 7, I think, is about a 10,000 square foot footprint. This is so. I've always taken the position that I think that the truck concern is overstated. And my example is, look at what's happening right now. We're pouring concrete on Riverwalk 7, and my phone hasn't rang. I haven't heard concerns. Judy would be the first to tell me.
I look right out at it every day. I can watch it.
And what happened when we built the first 6 buildings in Riverwalk was that, again, there were never any problems. You could stand on Main Street at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it's very, very quiet. And if I told you a truck came every 5 minutes, which is not the case, but if it did, you'd see the truck come by, and then you'd wait 4.5 more minutes, and not a lot would happen. And the one time there was ever traffic was when there was the Goldwater shift change. That's when there was traffic. And so now you don't even have the Goldwater shift change. So, from my standpoint as the designated developer of the residential building, it's going to be more of the same.
And we will barge as much as we can.
You mentioned
building
curtain
one
wall.
at a time.
You mentioned.
But the one thing you have to remember too, there won't be as much truck traffic generated on waste that you ever had at the height of the hospital, because you had medical supplies, you had linens, you had many other things. So you're not going to have that. You have restaurants and you have other significant.
So you're worried about deliveries and things like that, Helen?
Deliveries of material
For the construction, you're worried about.
And
She's worried about the construction.
And Andrew mentioned this. You raised it at the task force meeting earlier this week, and Andrew said they're still evaluating what can be barged in during the construction process. So we'll keep making sure that they don't forget that.
Yes, and we want to barge as much as we can.
One last question.
Sure.
So I actually might have missed the answer to this question, but are you going to be building one building at a time, or is it all of the buildings are going to start at the same time?
I have that scheduled. Let me get back to you just a second. I want to make sure I get that absolutely right.
So could we go
There's
on to
some
another
overlap.
question, Jane?
Please, well, it's your meeting.
Okay, so Judy and then Judy.
Yeah, I have two questions.
Not around by Judy B.
I have 10 questions, you can do your.
That's Judy one, not Judy two, that's how it works.
Let's hear from Judy too, first.
I have to, first of all, it was fascinating to hear some of the thought process that goes into this. It was really, really interesting. I have a memory that at some point we were told, or it was put in writing, possibly in the EIS, that somehow or other there's going to be some kind of special glass will be used that will not attract migrating birds. There was something was said about that on the Cornell side. I don't remember exactly what, but it had to do with the kind of glass used in the buildings. I'd love for someone to check that out, because the idea of birds smashing into this is
Sure.
I'll do that, Judy.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
You mentioned prefab walls. Would that come in by barge? How much of this building will be coming in by barge?
I can't answer that
Can't
question.
answer
I'm not the contractor.
We will do as much as we can, Judy.
We've committed up to
Construction.
40%
Yes.
truck reduction for the entire project by barge.
Okay.
Judy?
Which Judy just is the largest, I mean, that also happens to be the largest voluntary barging effort in the entire city of any construction.
That's what Andrew said.
Pretty good something.
Okay, first of all, don't take it personally, but between your building and whatever's gonna be built next to it, you're building the Great Wall there. You're blocking off our view of the bridge, and I hate to say if it's 252 feet or 250 feet, it really does upset me. I mean, gee, I'd love to be a student living in this building, but it's just a monster. It's just sitting there, and whatever they're gonna build next door, I know that's a placeholder, but I can imagine, you are cutting off the campus from the rest of the world. And that's my personal opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with it. That's something that's going to be as high as the Queensboro Bridge. How tall is 405 Main Street?
405 Main Street is 6. It's 16 stories versus 25
Right.
stories.
And 405 is an acceptable height, but this is really too big. And
You know, Judy, can I say, when I drive down the FDR and I see Queens West,
that's an obscenity, Queens
I think,
West.
I can't believe I just asked for 16-story buildings on Riverwalk when they're building.
I'm
Judy,
sorry.
the one thing you have to understand is we did spend a year in the ULIP process.
I understand, but I can have my opinion that the building is a monster.
And the building is actually, number one, lower than it could be, and number two, we heard loud and clear during the ULIP process, there were a lot of people concerned about secondary displacement with the status of Mitchell-Lama housing and the concern of affordable housing, so there was also a lot of folks who wanted the buildings bigger to accommodate that and avoid the secondary displacement. And third, you have to remember, our ability to go high affects our ability to deliver our commitment on zoning required open space.
Okay, I understand all of that, but my personal opinion, I'm allowed to vent and I'm allowed my opinion, I'm a member of the committee, that between your building and whatever they're gonna build next to it, it's going to be a wall. Okay, now that I've told you that, please go back to the plan.
The ground plan?
Yeah, the ground. Okay. First of all, my favorite thing at all these meetings, where does the FedEx truck park? The FedEx truck parks and the UPS truck park in that little tiny space, that block, there's not enough room for deliveries. People, you know, especially students, they move July 1st, they will move in, they will move out. There's a fairly
You're
spacious
talking about
space.
over here?
Is that a road that
Actually,
they can
the-
drive on?
The service entrance
This is right here.
Yeah,
the service entrance is off the Northwood Road. You see that
Right,
store in the back?
yeah,
That's our service
by,
entrance.
across from Sportsboro.
Correct.
That's the service entrance.
Yes.
Is there a driveway there that a truck gets to pull off the street?
No.
Okay, so that's not very good, that's a 2-lane street. So one truck parks there, you automatically have a 1-lane street, a 1.5-lane street. not, every building has done the same thing. They don't, it's like you get deliveries, you get all kinds of stuff, and there's nowhere to put it. And I know, they have wonderful trash removal, their little gremlins come in the middle of the night to your buildings, but their trash is out on the street every single day from every Southtown building aside from the Cornell building. Every day you go by, and your trash is on the street. It vanishes at night, but 4 o'clock every afternoon, your trash goes on the street. And it's not right. It has to be planned that there's a space, a covered, enclosed space, and a place that the truck can get into, that we don't have to sit in a Fuji Japanese restaurant and see the trash from the building. Sorry.
That is not like.
So Judy, let me
No.
just take your question a little bit further. The trucks that make the deliveries, that pick the garbage, the private carters, will be parked on that north driveway, on the north road. They
It's
won't.
one way, they come up here, that's where the
Stores
trash
are.
comes out right here.
They won't have a curb
And then
cut
take
that
off.
they can
The
they
city
can
general
back-
doesn't even.
that they can
provide
back.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, as Judy said, that's a narrow.
It's a two-lane street.
I mean, even in the Manhattan Park buildings, there's driveways, and the trucks can come off the street. So, and even if I recall correctly, in the first academic building, you have a driveway off of the Loop Road that will allow trucks to get down to the basement to deliver and to pick stuff up.
Is there a basement in this building?
No.
There's
They
no
don't-
basement.
They don't need a basement, they just need a curb cut, so.
But that's not the curb, I mean, it's just not really a curb cut. And, after watching the garbage go out every afternoon, you don't want to create the same thing you have here. Are there any utilities on the roof? Is there going to be a water tower on the roof?
No.
Okay, how's the water going to get pumped?
Pump it.
It's a water tower. The water
No,
tower is
there's not a big giant tank.
no Roosevelt tank on the roof?
No.
Okay. There's
And if there needs to be, you won't see it, because it's behind the,
yeah, but there's a lot of buildings that never count the
Yeah,
water
I
tower,
know.
you know.